I'm Marty, and this is Cooking at the Krause House. But today, we're actually cooking at the Wishart House. This is my dear friend Linda, who I love with my whole heart. And she's going to make something that we have all learned to love, Maori bread. And Linda, tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Linda, and I was born in New Zealand, grew up there and lived on a farm in a little valley called Mako. We didn't have the opportunity to be able to buy bread. So as a little girl, we learned how to make bread at home. There was no yeast or anything like that, so we learned to make rewana bread. I taught Māori a long time ago, and now she thinks it's the best thing. It's ordinary.
It's not. It's delicious. And you will love it. And you will love listening to Linda talk during the whole show. So even if you don't want to bake bread, listen to her and her stories. And I think I might change my name to Māori, which is my name in Maori.
I can't say Māori because it takes too long.
My name sounds so much more lovely when you say it. But try this. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, and it's so easy. Good luck.
Hey Linda, tell us what's in Maori bread.
Maori bread is made of flour, yeast, water and sugar, and a little bit of salt, and that's all it is. And I learned how to make it 65 years ago. I was only 7.
Oh
And this is all we had for bread on the farm. Easiest thing you could ever make.
But did you always have yeast?
No, yeast, I didn't start using yeast until years later. On the farm, we used to make our own kind of yeast mixture. It was called rewana, Rewena, and it was a concoction made up of mashed potatoes and the water from the potatoes that you cooked in, and with sugar and bicarbonate soda. You did that and you let it rest for 48 hours and mixed it up well, and then each day we would add a little bit to it until the mixture was all frothy and you could tell it was ready to be able to use in your Maori bread. And it was, I think, sweeter than the yeast that we use today, but who's going to wait 48 hours to make that mixture? So that's all it is.
That sounds pretty easy.
Already mix it up. It's 1 cup of sugar to 2 tablespoons of yeast, but I use 3 tablespoons just to make it a little fluffier and nicer. Otherwise it can be kind of hard. Yeah.
Solid-ish.
Yeah.
That must be what's wrong with mine. You forgot to tell us the secret ingredient.
Oh, sorry. Now you know. And so to this mixture, you add 4 cups of hot water. Okay, and you just whisk that around. And then once it's frothy and like this, you leave it stand for 15 minutes, longer if you want, and that's it. And while that's rising, in a bowl you put 10 cups of sifted flour with a teaspoon of salt, just like this. And then you make a little well, and when it's ready, you pour this in. But I find with my girls, one of the best advices I could give them is to clean up as you go. I have seen bakers who have their stuff all over the place. That's not a good cook. So this is what it looks like. The yeast is frothy on top.
Looks kind of thick.
Yeah. And so you make a well in the middle, and then you just pour this in. The easiest thing you'll ever make if a little 7-year-old kid can do it, anybody can do it.
Linda has taught my girls how to make it, and Amy has taught her kids how to make it. And one time they had a contest, and they all
did?
made Maori bread, and to see who's turned out the best.
Oh, I love those kids of Amy. They used to call me Grandma Witchcraft because they couldn't say wish hat. They were only cute little ones running around the yard.
Well, that was better than what your kids got in school, right?
I'm not saying because I'm proper. If you want to say, you say it.
I'm not saying. But it did rhyme with Wishart.
With each, it started with F, so.
Fish. I don't want them to get confused on the F word.
Oh, that's right. I use this, and then I switch to a fork. Otherwise, your arm will fall off mixing it
You
up.
had about half the flour mixed in, probably, with
Yeah.
the whisk, and then you
Yeah.
changed to the fork.
Yeah.
And so, how often did you make this when you're growing up?
About every other day.
Every other day?
Yeah, there was 5 in our family to feed.
Okay.
And so 3 loaves every other day was good. And we used to eat Maori bread with everything, with our meat, with seafood, with...
Did you catch your own seafood?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And went and picked it by ourselves too.
Wow. Eric's favorite thing with Maori bread is that you make the very best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. She cuts it and then butters the inside and then puts peanut butter and then puts jelly. And Eric thinks that is the best treat in the world. He likes me to make him a meat sandwich, but as dessert, he wants the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Well,
And he's always like, make it like Linda.
well, once Eric and Marty were at our house, and I made them a treat to go home, and I had nothing to put in a sandwich but peanut butter and jelly.
It was
So
delicious.
it must have been the bread that made it lovely.
I think it was the love. So now you kind of knead the last part.
Yes, I do, and usually the dough is still warm from the hot water. Feel it?
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, and what I do is then I tip it all out. Okay, and just knead it.
Do you knead it for a certain amount of time, or just till all the flour's in, or till it fills a certain way?
Till it feels a certain way. Just, you kind of know after a while. The first time you make it, just make sure that it's all together. And that's it. And you just leave it on the flour for another 15 minutes.
And it's not super smooth. It's still kind of rustic looking.
Yeah.
You can see it's not like when you
Yeah.
make regular white bread, how it's soft and it's not
Yeah.
like that. It's not smooth, which is part of its charm and deliciousness.
That's what it is, charm and deliciousness. Hey, our dough is raised and the pans are being buttered. And so what I do is I divide this into 3 loaves. And then I just knead it to make it look nice and neat. Oh, just a minute.
Now, Linda doesn't always use bread pans. Sometimes she makes her own handmade loaves, which
Like
are
French loaves.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're beautiful too.
Yeah, and you can just put them on a flat pan and put them in there. I also sometimes get a loaf and then I press it out like this and I can sprinkle cheese on it. And sometimes cheese and little bits of bacon that have been cooked. And then I just mix it all up like this. And then it's a cheese and bacon loaf or just a cheese loaf. So this is what I do. And another little trick I do is I wet a paper towel and then I clean the top of the flour. And then
Does it just make them
Yeah.
smoother or
Yeah.
shinier?
and it doesn't leave little pellets of flour.
Okay.
Is that a word? Pellets of flour. Yeah.
Well, I know that I remember when Kara told you to start buttering the tops so that they didn't look so rustic and they looked fancier.
Yeah, and when they bake, after I bring them out of the oven, I do smother them with butter on top. That Kara's bossy.
But she's cute. So you always take them out right away?
Yeah. Am I not supposed to? Does
No.
it come out better if you
I
leave
just
it?
wanted everyone to know what they're supposed to do.
Okay. Well, those have just come out of the oven, and what I do is get a little bit of butter, and put it on the top to give it a little glaze.
It looks so shiny and lovely. But they taste just as good either way.
Yeah. And you haven't eaten, so you could make you some bread and butter, and there's mango jam in there. And
Sounds delicious. Probably not till the camera's off.
so that's it. Thank you.
They look so delicious. I want to thank my friend Linda for making Maori bread. I have been so excited to do this show. I love this woman so very much.
And I love her back. We go way back, and our kids are brothers and sisters.
And I want to thank everyone for watching the show, for seeing one of my favorite guests. Please subscribe, share, and try this recipe. You'll love it, and everybody you give it to will love you.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
you're welcome. Thank you.